here are some of the simple yoga poses that we looked at adapting for more embodiment of the feminine. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking certain yoga poses that you would know commonly to be a specific way, and then we're looking at variations that we can do with them to make them more fluid, to make them more feminine, to make them more in that embodiment of softness and also a breath-led practice. So the first one that we're going to take is Asana, soles of the feet together. And we're activating the arches of the feet by pressing into the balls of the feet there. Hands are going to rest onto the knees and the spine is nice and tall. I'm just simply starting by lifting the knees up and down. And as I'm doing this, I'm just releasing the external glutes, the internal pelvic floor. So we're just getting a softness here. We're not going too deep into a groin opening, shocking the groin muscle. We're just letting it be nice and soft. And once they've done this a few times, we can combine this with some movement of the arms to facilitate greater space in the internal passages of the body. So we're going to take our hands out to the side, and as we inhale, we lift the knees up and the arms up. Exhale, everything comes back down. So inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Now, the second stage of this is that we're going to inhale. And as we exhale, we take our arms like big wings and wrap them all the way around and down, letting the head go. As we inhale, we arch, draw the arms back together, open the chest and look up. So exhaling, coming down. Inhaling, opening. Exhale, coming down. Inhaling, opening. And release. To come out, we lift the knees up so there's no pressure onto the hips. We take the legs out in front and we soften into the ankles so the womb channel that runs from the ankles up to the womb space is nice and nourished. We can also let the ankles go nice and floppy here too. The second pose that we were looking at is child's pose. Now this is a really common rest pose, and it's nice and feminine in its essence because it's a resting pose, but what we're going to do today is bring some flow into it. So we're sort of combining a cat-cow and a wave-like motion into this, so we get this lovely supple spine, but also this sense of that watery nature, that watery aspect of the feminine. It's really appropriate for a female pelvis, really nice and watery. So we take the knees nice and wide, and we start with the arms as far forward as we can in a child's pose, so it's not in here, it's nice and forwards. As we inhale, we lift the hips. I'm just going to come back a little bit actually. As we inhale, we lift the hips, we drop them down. We draw the arms back and lift the chest. As we exhale, we push out of the hands, round the spine and drop back. So inhale, rocking forwards, lifting the chest. Exhale, pressing into the hands, rounding the spine, dropping back down. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, opening. Exhale, rounding. Now, it's not the deepest version of any pose. That's another thing to remember about this, because when we look at the feminine, it's not about striving, it's not about achieving, it's not about muscling through. It's about staying in the softness, staying in the fluidity. We're never reaching for, we're staying in the embodied sense of self. So the second stage of this that we can do, another adaptation, is to turn it into a wave. So for this one, we come forwards, we take the arms down like this, just like a kind of classical child's pose. And then we swoop the belly low till the shoulders come over the wrists. We press up and then we round back down. So we swoop, inhale, exhale, round. Inhale and rounding. And this can be done really slow, really languid, or really fast if that's how you're feeling in that moment. So either way. And then rolling back up and just checking in, maybe a few little circles with the arms, just letting everything go. We're now going to come up to Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 and do a couple of different variations. So one of the things that we're looking at when we're thinking of adapting poses for the feminine is that the female pelvis is really different to the masculine, especially if you've had a baby or you're in menopause or perimenopause. we kind of want a wider stance. We want everything to be nice and soft and fluid. So what I usually do, instead of taking the ASIS, the kind of bony bits of the pelvis as our markers for our feet, is I take them a little wider, and then I come down nice and soft into the feet here. Little bounce, little looseness. Find the buoyancy, and then I lift up the toes to engage the arches of the feet. The arches of the feet relate also to the arch of the pelvic floor, cervix, diaphragm, roof of the mouth. So we really want them to be nice and strong. And then here we want support in the belly. Instead of pulling the belly back in, making it smaller, making ourselves less, which we often do in the female, we're going to let the belly just be what it is. It's just going to be soft. But to create support, we're going to pull up on the pubic bone then. I'm going to get you to imagine that your tailbone has a little pencil hanging down off it. And we're just going to draw little circles on the ground. The toes are still lifted. So knees are bent, toes are lifted, pubic bone is up. We're just drawing little circles. So get this nice juicy, watery, fluid pelvis, but there's still quite a lot of work going on in the legs to support. And then from here we take little smiles. So it's almost like you're smiling with your pubic bone up and down to the sides. And then I'm going to get you to write your full name on the floor with that pencil. So mine would be Lydia Sass. So I'm taking the letters and I'm just using them as a foundation for moving my pelvis in ways that I wouldn't normally move it, to try to get some release and some letting go there. But I'm still supporting with the foundation of the feet. Arches are engaged and pubic bone is drawing up. And once I've got that looseness, my softness, then I'm ready for my standing poses. So I'm going to turn to the top of the mat. I've got that wider stance, that solider stance. Everything's nice and bound here, really grounded. I'm going to take a long step back with the right foot. And the first thing I'm going to do is just play around with the feet. All I'm doing is feeling into the feet and that interplay front to back. That's all. Just noticing, how does that feel? And sometimes in that you might feel, okay, I need to step wider with that back foot. Or sometimes you might want to step narrower. Just let it be what it is. Once you've found a good solid base, you're just going to bounce into that front foot. We're watching the knee, and it's going over the second and third toe. And we're just stretching into those hip flexors. And then we can start to kind of add a nice swoopy, loose arm here. So we're coming forwards and back. And it's all nice and soft and released. And then when we're ready to stay into the pose, we're still going to create a movement. So we're going to inhale up, exhale back. Inhale up, exhale back. And if you want, you can inhale up on the back foot, exhale down. So there's this lovely sense of fluidity and movement, but also the breath being the heartbeat of the pose. Another way that we can do it is also gathering the flowers. So we reach forwards, inhale, exhale, ripple up and open the arms. Inhale, exhale back. Staying in the fluid. Now we're going to turn that back foot out, walk it a couple of places back here. Outer edge of the back foot is down, knees pointing towards second and third toe, and once again we're just playing into that. I'm really trying to get that nice solid foundation in the lower body. I keep the upper body loose and fluid, neck is relaxed, chest is relaxed. The legs are working, but in this nice kind of dancey way. And then from there, I'm just going to start by swinging the back arm forwards, follow with the front and go round. So I've got this kind of windmill and I'm bouncing into that front leg. So we've still got the Warrior Two foundation and we're working into both arms, but there's this nice looseness here. Inhale as we come forwards, exhale as we go back. And then another option for that you can do is bring a hand or the forearm, depending how deep you want to go into it, down. Reach forwards like I've got a ball, and then reach back like you've got a ball. And you can do this with the bouncy foot, like I'm doing now. Or you can do it with a static foot, and just the movement comes into the upper body with this nice spiraling. And then come all the way back, turning the feet in, and we might just finish with just a little bit of loosening here into the legs, taking the legs back into the center, a few little loose hip circles, And then some letting go with the knees and the arms and the hips. And so there's always these integration points, these dropping in points where we move, we breathe, and then we come back. How am I feeling in my body? Am I still connected to the breath? Did that feel good for me as I moved? Do I need to move a different way? Is that something I want to bring in my practice tomorrow? So it's always just about checking in. If it feels good, it is good.